Alright guys, and so after Heroes, I really feel that, like I said, it could be one of the strong contenders for the format. Now we're going to work on two, I feel, the other decks that have been played recently and that did well at the recent YCS. First off is Yugioh. I really do like the idea and concept behind the deck. I like the fact that they constantly search each other out. Pretty much it's an entire tutor deck, and allows you to get to other resources before that you never really had. Especially, special summoning one another, going off Yugioh onto X, which is amazing, and its price value has pretty much jumped from what it originally was. It was like around $45, $55. Now it's jumped up to almost $90 online, which is amazingly ridiculous. I don't even think that the card should merit that much, but for the most part, it's kind of the same thing as Grand Soil recently. Since both of them are from the same set, Grand Soil's reached a price that was $15, and it's jumped up to almost $50 to $65. And I mean, Grand Soil isn't necessary in the deck, but it's the price is pretty much going to steer a lot of players away from the deck. But on another note, though, is that the Yugioh is something I'm going to actually test, especially tomorrow. It's not a deck that I'm quite familiar with. I know the combos with it. I understand that with berets and reflipping the armor and being able to, special summon, get more monster searches out, and being able to OTK. I understand all of that. It's actually quite interesting. I know there's a lot of machine hate for the deck, so unfortunately I don't know how strong it will be continuing in the format. But for right now, though, it's caught a lot of players' interest, and I can understand why. I mean, the idea to be able to have, fairly decent matchups and being able to at least get to your resources consistently is actually not bad, and that's one reason why a lot of people, I think, have started favoring the deck. For the most part, though, I do believe it's something that requires a lot of testing, even for myself, because it's not forward, especially it has to be able to catch up to windups, and windups is one of the fastest and most ridiculous deck in the format, like I said. So for the most part, we'll see how this deck goes. I still need to, again, get more testing in it, probably go over it more on Friday after I decide. I know I have a regionals coming up this Saturday, so I kind of have to figure out what I'm going to use. I have really no idea at the moment, but I've just been testing a lot and seeing all the different decks and how everything interacts and stuff. Now, one of my things that I've actually started looking into, which I kind of like, is the Spellbook Prophecy monsters. And for the most part, I feel that the deck it's still needing something. I'm not exactly what it is. I'm sure what it could be, but I do know the deck can be viable at some point, and I do know that it's not like a deck that'll be ignored. Konami is pushing it for some reason, and they do know that they want players to play them because it is a spellcaster type archetype. It is something that has always been one of the fan favorites, and I know that it'll go somewhere. It's not something that'll just be held out. Right now, the builds they're kind of fuzzy right now. I know that a lot of them use like Breaker and using pretty much all the spellbook guide lineups and High Priestess and that, and combining some of it with like multiple spellbooks. Some have tried with Summoner Monk, which I personally don't like because I feel that you waste too many cards. Especially if they have Valor Maxi, your whole plan kind of goes to waste. The deck's really appealing to me. I really like spellcasters as one of my favorite types, but I don't really know what they're going to do yet. I do know that this is probably one of those decks that should not be ignored, especially now if you want to pick up all the utility cards at this moment. Abyss Rising is going to be just around the corner, and Return of the Duelist is a supporting set. It is an initial introduction to most of these archetypes, Yugioh, Spellbooks, and Medulce. So none of these cards, especially, should be ignored because they are going to help what's going to happen in Abyss Rising, especially when we get other archetypes introduced, and from then on forth. And then for my last, little notes on the format is these two cards. Venus for agents and stuff like that, and how the game has allowed 2 Earths to be put into play. Earth being at 2 has made the deck somewhat viable again, but I feel that the pace in which the deck is at is still too slow for the format. However, though, Hyperion is an amazing card. The fact that there's not that many agents, though, kind of limits his playability. Some people have tried too. I haven't tried the deck. I played against the deck. It's not as potent like I remember it. I know that with the lack of like a tour guide, because I've played the one with the tour guides and the Tragiotas and that and the Maxis, and I understand how that one was, and at that time frame plants were very viable, and there were ways to manipulate things and the way to push for game, and how Gachi Gachi was a very powerful card at that point in time, but it's kind of lackluster at best now because there's so many ways to deal with it. So I don't know how I feel more or less about agents. I understand agents with the OTK with United We Stand. It's quite good. but it's a minimal thing, especially if your opponent has like MSC or they stop you with like a Veiler. Kind of like the plays gets kind of slow. So I don't know how I entirely feel about it. I do know the deck is something that's there. It's going to be something for this format, and it's just something, again, that people will always look into. Now, one of the biggest things, what I think is probably one of the best cards in Return of the Duelist, is Madolche Mageline. Now, a lot of people don't seem to realize is that she can search out herself, guys. Right now, it's not as more or less of the Madolche theme, it's more or less the cards that they have. And what I like about her is what a lot of people ignore is that she is a spellcaster. So if you plan on running a spellcaster deck, you can search other copies of herself. So if you're running things like Secret Village of the Spellcasters, you always have a constant body to always know that you'll have one for your Secret Village. So that way you always have monster presence. Now, if she's destroyed by battle or card effect, she goes back into the deck. Now, I still have to get clarified on this. I believe this is what has happened so far. There hasn't been any argument against it, and it was kind of ruled at the YCS Toronto that if she were to get Solemn Warning or Solemn Judgment, she goes back into the deck. Now, I know the card states that it says Control, but in OCG and in the rulings for them, they are ruled that if they're destroyed while even in the hand, even if they're in a state of limbo technically, they still get destroyed by your opponent's card effect because Warning and Solemn both destroy. So the card would go into the grave and then resolve and go back into the deck. So if situations like that happen where you're worried about Magelines going back and forth, you'll be able to search out your 3 Magelines, and then if one of them were to die, you can reset it again and restart the loop again of getting more of them back. So it's not a bad card at all. And not to mention too, like say if you do want to run like a psychic variant, you can run E-Tellies, and since it's a spellcaster, you can sync with Commander in itself to make Arcanine Magician, make power plays like that. And not to mention too, it's an Earth, so it still fulfills the requirements for Grand Soil. So if, you know, just more or less it's an idea, it's a tech, I feel that the card on its own is a super for a reason. I mean, a lot of the good supers in this set, Temperance, Mageline, and Yugioh Armor, those guys have all been crucial points in the decks, I think, and are one of the main supers that you will need. I mean, of course, other than the secret rares, I feel that a lot of these cards will have, you know, a good impact on the format. Now, I know I didn't mention like Dark World or Six Samurai. I know Dark World, in my opinion, just it loses to itself. The deck kind of, it's a combo-based deck that requires another card for all of their other effects to go off, which is not good because most of those cards that make their effects go off are spell cards. So if your opponent now opens up Nat Beast, which is so relatively easy now in this format because, again, Psychics have that with E-Tellies, Karakuris have that if they want to make that quick turn play. It's just a matter of like how your opponent will control the board for you, and it doesn't give you any viable plays at all. So I feel that it's so reliant on that. You can just have bad matchups across the board, especially, I mean, sideboard heavy for them. They get completely wrecked by it. And Samurais, I feel that without the current speed that they still need, the deck it's lackluster. It's still good, but it's not what it was. And I've seen it at 3 Gateway and all that before, and I understand that it's a completely different time frame, but as more and more cards get introduced, older themes aren't as powerful as they used to be anymore. So, you know, for the most part, guys, that's what I kind of think right now of all the decks and things like that. Again, you know, what I want to do for this channel is I want to get a lot of your guys' opinions. I want to get a lot of your guys' what do you guys feel that I should talk about, because a lot of things aren't aware to players of what they should do, how cards interact, what decks they seem to be tech. I mean, even if you guys want to talk about decks, like, again, I'm very interested in, you know, dealing with anything of like the spell books and stuff like that. People's thoughts and opinions on the Yugioh decks, you know, the heroes, you know, even how they felt about the Psychics winning. I mean, that was like a big deal for a lot of people. Try to be, you know, as creative, but be aware of how the format is right now. Windups are a threat. If your deck isn't able to keep up with windups, isn't able to deal with heroes, isn't able to, you know, pace with rabbit, then you have an issue. That's why you must, you know, that's why playtesting, guys, and asking questions, that's the biggest deal, especially like when you're dealing with so much in the format and trying to understand, like, oh, well, I don't want to play Max C because I don't like it. Well, if Max C is going to be the thing that saves you from getting completely wind-up looped by, you know, a swarm board, I would recommend that you should play it. If you guys have any thoughts, like I said, opinions, statements, you know, please, you know, comment and, you know, give me a thumbs up, guys, for the videos, because like I said, I want to do this as a regular basis for you guys. I mean, I'm not going to be lazy with this and say, oh, I'm not going to do it one time and not do them again. This is something that's a for sure thing, and I want to make sure that everyone feels that they can do their best with this game. I know a lot of changes have happened, and there's going to be a lot of cards coming out in the near future, and I can't wait. And this is kind of the best thing for you guys to kind of get a good idea of what you guys want to play. We'll kind of more or less work together on this, because not everyone's going to say, oh, this is my hidden tech that I want to use. We know whatever you guys need. You guys want deck discussions, you want duel videos, you guys want single card discussions, things like that. I can pretty much do it all. It's just what you guys really need, what you guys feel that you need, and the right information, not a bunch of information that everyone has filtered on their same website over and over again. So if you guys need anything, again, please rate, comment, subscribe. And this is PN Collector signing out.